Freestyle in the anchor, I'll write that shit. Freestyle in the anchor.
Where this concept of here-ness, of like where we live is our place. And I want to understand it in the context of like the experience of a traumatized people and a traumatized person. Of, you know, we think about like fight, flight, freeze, fawn instincts, right? Combine that with a history of, you know, both biblically and historically stories of flight, as well as stories of fight. But, you know, our central stories are stories of flight. You know, the one we're gearing up for Passover is a story of some fight and some flight. But flight is the ending. And so as a result, it creates sometimes this need, both in good faith or in bad, to try to understand, well, what are our fight stories, right? Yeah. And I think that's an instinct that I've had as someone trying to connect the dots between like my lineages and lineages of liberatory work. It's something that I know is part of this book, and you speak to like the power that building self-defense networks has for people emotionally and psychologically, of like understanding them as themselves as a people that has cowered and cowers no more. And then I also see that same like instinct in the overcorrection as a central part of what makes Zionist violence like psychologically possible, of this false narrative of like no one fought back last time, and so we can't let that happen to us again, and so therefore we need to be the strongest, most machismo. You know, a lot of it's rooted also in concepts of like Jewish masculinity also. So I'm throwing a lot out there, but I'm wondering for you, like, how do you think about that oscillation between both like flight and fight in this story, but then also between like we are a people that has cowered and now we are a people that fights back, like the good parts and the bad of that. You get what I'm putting down for you to pick up and play with?
I totally do. It's like, oh my God, this is such like a rich vein. I mean, first of all, like, as you were saying, one of the foundational myths of Zionism is diaspora Jews were weak and cringing. And I mean, sometimes if you read like Jabotinsky, like he sounds like the most anti-Semitic guy, the way he's describing diaspora Jews, like it literally sounds like Stormfront, the way he's describing them. But he's like, but there's this idea, right? Diaspora Jews were weak, and that's why they were gassed and killed, because they were fucking weak. But we Israelis, we Sabras, we are strong, and we are strong because we are strongly and bravely oppressing Arabs, and that's what strength means. And you're either weak and you get gassed, or you're strong and you have your boot on someone else's face. Mm-hmm. It's like a way of seeing the world where there is only the oppressed and the oppressor. There is no other option. And I think that this idea that strength means to become the oppressor, that strength means to become like the Israeli, it accounts a great deal for the Bund's erasure, because the Bund was not just a group that rejected Zionism. Many Jewish groups rejected Zionism, from, you know, assimilationist, wealthy Jews of German heritage in America to like the most religious guys you've ever seen in the world. You know, there was many reasons to reject Zionism. But I think the reason that the Bund really sticks in their craw is that the Bund were tough. And I think having other models of strength that don't involve oppressing others is very damaging to the Zionist narrative of what Jews should be. With the fight and the flight and the stories of flight. So like one of the moments in my book where I remember I was reading this in, I think it was the Brooklyn Daily Eagle. And I was like, wow, I can't believe I found this. So it's the 1905 revolution, and it's in Brownsville. There's a big fundraising thing to raise some money for some guns to overthrow the Tsar. And the labor lawyer, Meyer London, who will later become one of the first socialist congressmen in the US, but this time he's just like a labor lawyer, he's giving a fundraising speech, and he's yelling at these people who just want to spend all their money like going to the boxing match, right? Instead of buying guns to overthrow the Tsar. And he says to them, he says, you don't understand. Our boys and girls, our Jewish boys and girls in Russia, they do not pray to be taken out of Egypt. They do not pray to escape Egypt. They pray to liberate Egypt. It was a vision not of having to do the Exodus across the bloody sea, but rather to liberate the land itself alongside the Egyptians.
which is this like steadfast position that, you know, a lot of what you say in the book is like just the stubbornness of this group of like, we're
stubborn.
We're not compromising on that.
To their dying breath, like being
Yeah.
about to be executed and saying, I was right. It was
Right.
I was right. I would find that in these stories of like repeatedly in these stories of Bundists. Like there is this one Bundist who was wrong about many things, like he staying in World War One. I'm not saying that I'm not doing a full-throated defense of Mark Lieber here, you know. However,
the Lieber lobby's coming for you. Be careful.
oh God, fuck man, dude. I know, like, I have a list of all the people who are going to this book's going to make mad, and I think like the Lenin fanboys are going to be the most persistent. I'm going to be like an old age.
I want to talk about this. Yes.
Oh fuck, man, they're going to be screaming at me. I'm going to be in a coma, and like the doctor is like, "You did Lenin dirty." So Mark Lieber, wrong about many things. We're not going to talk about his legacy. However, there's this story that I found in the Jewish Bund, which is like their big biographical dictionaries, where Lieber at this point, it's like the 1930s, he stayed in Russia. He has been arrested. He's like in the fucking gulag. He's been beaten up so much he can't even walk anymore. Like he's fucked up. And this foreign socialist sees Lieber, and they're together for a few days before, you know, people are moved in their various ways, and Lieber's presumably shot after this. And Lieber says to him before they're split up, he's like, you're probably going to get out of here because you're Italian. So if you do, I want you to make a message for my friends and loved ones, my comrades on the other side. And he says, tell them that no matter what happened to me, I died knowing I am a socialist, and I died knowing that I am right. And over and over and over again, I would see that, this commitment that like we may have lost everything else, but we were right. And they were right.
Yeah. And so, but I want to talk about what that makes possible and what that doesn't make possible, and the trade-offs of that. I mean, one of the things you do so beautifully through the book is like tie it to your own lived experience, and specifically the tedium of the leftist meeting in the room with no airflow and no light, and you're stuck in procedure, which relatable. I think there's a valid question of like, when your rightness is your weapon, is your cudgel, and I know there are other weapons too, like it creates all these moments that happen throughout the book of like the Bund choosing not to participate, or choosing to walk out, or choosing to
flounce
not
out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because for among other reasons, know they are right.
Yes.
And I think we, you know, in a contemporary context, just on an interpersonal level, there's so much now like contempt for the person who thinks they're always right in a movement space, what that means. And so I wonder, like, what are the pros and cons of like living and dying by the fact that you know yourself to be right?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that happens repeatedly, and usually much to the Bund's detriment, though sometimes I think it was good as well, but specifically when dealing with like other socialist groups, is that the Bund feels that they were like done dirty, that something was unethical, and then they flounce out with great fanfare and is like screaming "fuck all y'all" and leave the field of power and thus marginalize themselves. This is a repeated motif of their history, and I think that that's something, you know, that over the last like 10, 15 years, like leftists have done a lot of, greatly to their detriment.
We've been big time flouncers.
Yeah, big time flouncers. I mean, one of the things that I always think of as like so moronic was, you know, when Bernie did Joe Rogan the first time, and, you know, obviously Joe says a bunch of fucked up stuff, you know, not defending that, but also he's the most popular podcast in the country, right? And there is this idea that like, you know, your socialist candidate shouldn't speak to the most popular podcast in the country when he's running for president because you're gonna, I don't know what, platform Joe Rogan.
But also should go on CNN.
Right.
Like
yeah, exactly. Like should do this. It was inane, and I can think of that sort of pattern over and over and over again. Yeah, ceding the space, and I think that we all see the results of like ceding the space in like popular platforms and popular culture, especially in stuff that's like stuff for dudes, you know. It fucked us. It fucking allowed fascists to fill those spaces. We did not, well, not me. I went on Joe Rogan twice, but like, you know, the left in general, you know, did not deplatform Joe Rogan. What happened was they deplatformed their fucking selves, you know, by having a fucking fascist win. And I think that one of the things that like I've personally committed to, because I've had such an intimate view into the Bund being right and then flouncing and then what happens afterwards, is I've personally committed to like not leaving the field, even when things are hard, even when there's people like you don't agree with, even when there's people who say like dumb or problematic shit or whatever. You have to stay. You have to stay because the only alternative is flouncing out and isolating yourself in increasingly more irrelevant and interscene bickery book clubs until you finally, I don't know, create the purity that comes from being alone in your room and not talking to anyone.